1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Friday Show Live. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. Hello and welcome to the Friday edition of the Royal Blue Podcast. It's the 11th of July. We are live and I am your host, Ian Croll. Joining me in the Royal Blue studio today to talk all things Everton, we've got the return to the podcast of Gav Buckland.
As if you didn't know me there.
Yeah.
A new name.
I do know you. I do know you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Yeah, just
enjoying the weather.
I was going to say mid-80s, isn't it? I think I like talking about mid-80s on the podcast, obviously. So
very knowledgeable about the mid-80s.
Yeah, the football, not the temperature. Unfortunately, I'm still a Fahrenheit guy, not a centigrade guy. So when people say, "When my daughter or son go, it's like 19 or 20," I go, I haven't got a clue.
Oh
what
yeah,
that is.
No,
absolutely. I'm trying to work it out. What is it? You multiply by 5 and divide by 3 and add 32 or something. And I do that and I still get it wrong.
Too much work for me.
I'm a centigrade, he's a Fahrenheit lover, I
think. Obviously, no football as such. We're doing okay without any football. You've not been watching the Club World Cup?
No, give the CWC a miss, to be honest with you. I think you've just got to have a bit of downtime, haven't you, really?
Yeah.
Don't mind talking about podcasts and stuff, but I'm at this, I've been for the last month or so. The last thing I want to do is watch a game of football, to be honest with you.
With a half-empty stadium as well.
Yeah. It's interesting to see, isn't it? And this is for well, it actually does impact on us, like the expansion of the Club World Cup, possibly making it every 2 years, and having some sort of qualification based on what you've achieved and where that leaves. Interesting to see where that leaves the likes of Everton and stuff within that, doesn't it? Really, but whether it's been a success or not, I think depends whether you're Infantino or not. He's not. Like a lot of people, I'm very, very worried about.
It's a success if you make lots of money, according to them, obviously, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and certain news outlets as well who said that. And I think it's the way forward. And I might have even said this on the pod a few years ago, that it was quite obvious that the future of football. I always equate it to boxing. Years ago, there used to be like two boxing, this gone back to the 60s, two WBC, WBA, but they'd recognise the same champion.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they realised, actually, you can make more money out of boxing if you have your own champion, and then you had sort of like other bodies that came on board after that. And football's the same, isn't it? They've realised that FIFA, who want to take money off, want more off the global game off club football, because you see UEFA taking all the money. They want a bit of action, don't they? And it's not beyond the realms of possibility in the future that there will be 2 Club World Cups, one run by UEFA and one run by FIFA. It depends on which clubs want to go with UEFA and which clubs want to go with FIFA. Like boxers, it's inevitable, because my mate said to me years ago in the late 80s that boxing was the first sport ruled by money. So eventually all sports will end up being organised like boxing. And you're seeing that, aren't you? You're seeing that within football. You've got this battle, haven't you, between UEFA and FIFA for money and the competition. But whether FIFA should be guardians in the game and should ensure that's all fair and equitable, they shouldn't be organising their own competition, should they? They're there to regulate the game, not to ruin it.
Dilutes it as well for me.
Absolutely. Well, too much football for a start, isn't it? And I totally get. I know it's easy to criticise players, isn't it? Really, saying, they're in, $300,000 a week, whatever. They should play 12 months a year, but ultimately the product suffers with that, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember Bielsa said a couple of years ago that the problem with that is if you play more and more football, the quality will dilute. People will be out injured, as we've seen. People will just become bored, and guess what happens then? People switch off. Mm-hmm. And once you switch off, they're not going to switch back on again. And that's football's problem for the future. Is have too much of it and the quality dilutes, and you don't have elite football that people will tune into. It's just content then, isn't it? and whether there's an attitude, an aptitude for that, I'm unsure. So it's worrying, isn't it, the way future football's heading, on the club game. And it'll be interesting to see how Everton pass that, because we've got big plans, haven't we? Obviously, with the new stadium and the TFG and all that, how we fit into that. I don't want to go on about this. Probably going off in the time. FIFA are talking. Some talk this morning is that FIFA will have a plan of 3 blocks of football during the year: a block for club football, a block for like European football, and a block for international football. 3 separate blocks during the year, so they won't run concurrently like they do at the moment. They'll have 3 blocks, which is just madness if you think about it. So yeah, it's all a bit worrying the way the future of the game's going. You can understand why old timers like me are switching off.
It's an interesting point and something that wasn't really on the agenda, but it is a thoughtful point.
It's where Everton fit in within that. That's what we're interested in, isn't it? The good news for Everton, really, around, as we saw last year in Europe, is the expansion of European competitions is good for Everton, isn't it? Got more chance of qualifying.
Yeah, in that respect, yeah.
The Conference League. If you were to say, right, okay, which competition Everton have got the best chance of winning next, you'd probably say the Conference League, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Not the FA Cup, not the League Cup. Palace won it last year. Obviously not the Premier League, not the Champions League, not the Europa League. The Conference League is the one that got the most chance of winning. So the expansion of European football helps us, doesn't it? Really, get on that ladder. I know West Ham struggled, but didn't do them any harm, did it? Really? And so it would just be, we speak about qualifying for Europe, but being that's too much of an ambition. Yeah, I totally get that. But qualifying for Europe in future is not going to be like qualifying for Europe, say, Moyes' first term, isn't it, really? He finished 6th in 2012-13, didn't get into Europe.
Yeah.
And what was it, 9th last year, got in, or whatever it was.
Typical Everton, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but but yeah, I get that. We finished 6th in 95-96 and didn't get into Europe because they threw an English club out. We lost one of the places called Tottenham, Sheffield Wednesday and Wimbledon, took the Intertoto Cup not seriously enough, so they punished us. We finished 6th, but that's by the by. It's got to happen to somebody. But yeah, there's a wider conversation to be had, isn't it? We've spoken about Everton's big plans for the future, and we're all on all support that. We're all looking forward to that. But it's how the changes in the wider football world will affect where our position is as a club. That's the interesting bit for me, but that's for another podcast.
Yeah, I'll make sure that we pencil that in for the schedule.
Yeah. So everybody can listen to it before they go to bed. In fact, there's probably a good book there. No, it is seriously. We as fans, we've always got to have an eye on what's going on in the wider game, because that ultimately influences where Everton sit, isn't it? Really. Football is never going to be like it's organised at the moment. It will change.
Okay, plenty.
So that was agenda item number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was slipped in there at the start.
But it's hugely relevant, isn't it?
Absolutely. Today's agenda, plenty to get through. Obviously, Tiano Barry was confirmed as an Everton player on Wednesday afternoon, so we will discuss that. I'm sure Gav will like to have his say. Everton have also been linked with a handful of players over the last few days, with some exciting names discussed, so we'll take a look at those. We'll also take a look at Everton's next stage of the summer transfer window and assess what and where is the priority. Gav has also put another point on the agenda. He wants to discuss the reports from the past week that Everton are looking for a minority stake investment in its women's team.
Yeah.
So we'll come on to that. A few other bits as well. We'll discuss the latest reports on Jarrad Branthwaite's release clause. And if we've got time, we'll also take a look at John Textor's comments regarding his failed takeover bid of the club. So plenty to get through. As always, give us a thumbs up, drop us a like and subscribe to the channel. Get your comments in on the stream, and I'll try and read out as many as I can. As always, your support greatly appreciated. Gav, we'll get into Tiano Barry. He's been discussed at length on quite a few podcasts over the past couple of weeks, but obviously it was confirmed on Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
Now we have signed him. He was pictured at Bramley Moor, the Hill Dickinson Stadium. So good to see that was all confirmed. Are you hoping that Everton have unearthed a gem?
Yeah, definitely. I think what's the fees of 27 million, is it something like that? Or
reported, undisclosed, obviously, but reported to be 27.5 million.
Yeah, it's like anything else. It's big. Well, it's a big risk. He's not Premier League proven, isn't he? We'll speak about that in a bit. But a signing like that's a bit like Moise Keane, isn't it? Really, is you can't really lose. We'll get our money back. You would imagine, promising striker, played for France under 21s, didn't he? Under 23s, whatever. So on that basis, the fee is not really a problem for me. It's just really he's just not Premier League proven, isn't he? He's coming forward, and that carries a risk, doesn't it? As we've seen several times, not just with Everton. I think he's probably fixed the style of play that Moyes wants. You know, he's a big lad, good in the air. I would say I don't know that much about Villarreal, but from what I understand, they played like 4-4-2. So he played with I think Jose Perez used to play for Newcastle. He played for him last season, didn't he? So he's going possibly from playing with 4-4-2 to like 4-5-1, 4-3-3. So his role at Everton will probably be different to what it would be at Villarreal, where he's probably just focused, just staying in the middle. Where if you're playing 4-5-1, like say Beto, you're going to be moving out wide, aren't you? You're going to be expected to be a bit more mobile. You would think, unless Moyes, changes his tactics to fit him, and also as well within that, will he be first choice anyway? Don't know. I mean, that's the other thing.
I mean, are you pleased? I guess you are going to be pleased, but just pleased that the club have acted so quickly in terms of bringing a striker in after the departure of Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's been on the radar for a bit, but I think he's probably out there. He's probably as good an opportunity as what we're going to get, really, isn't he?
It's interesting. Obviously, we've spoke about this again, but you say Premier League experience, but again, if you're looking at bringing someone in that line who would come to Everton realistically and has Premier League experience, even players who play for likes of Bournemouth, Brentford, they're being touted as players that would be in the valuation of like 60-70 million £, and that's a bit more than double what we're paying for Barry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other thing is, it's an investment for the future for somebody else to buy, because we talk about this, or do we want the player that we want for the next 3 or 4 years? I'd probably think I'd want the latter, wouldn't you, really? If somebody's going to do a job for us for 3 or 4 years, rather than somebody we're just taking a punt on and we're just going to sell on it, at some point in the future. So yeah, I'm pleased that we bought him. I can see why he would fit Moyes' profile. Got concerns over the style of play at Villarreal compared to Everton, and it's that, as I say, that fitting in with Premier League football. And it does question. I mean, I think there's another question mark here, really, isn't it? Like, what does it mean for Chimiti? He then becomes the third choice.
I think it also,
striker.
like you said, what does it mean for Beto though as well? Do
you think if they got we've asked you this before, if they got an offer for Beto, they'd sell?
Yeah, I think if it was a high end offer, but again, it would have to be a high end offer because Beto has proven himself to be able to score goals in the Premier League. It's come out of nowhere. I think. Let's be honest.
Which is a bit worrying in itself, isn't it? Really,
it is and it isn't.
Was it a bit of a fluke, is what I'm saying, at the end of last season?
Well, that will be proved in the coming weeks and months when the Premier League season starts. I think, in a way, it's eased fears of Calvert-Lewin leaving Beto there.
Yeah.
Because he has scored goals and he seems to be able to fit into the Moyes style of play that he was trying to implement.
And Moyes has worked hard with him, obviously, on the training pitch.
I think you can see improvements.
His first touch and his general all-round play has improved quite a bit, hasn't he, since Moyes came to the club?
I mean,
it's just interesting, isn't it, about why, at the end of the day, every player has his place, and there's always been rumours, hasn't it, about going back to Italy, whether if he did get an offer for him, they'd take it, whether Beto would want to go as well. That's the other thing. So
I'd be very surprised now if Beto was to leave this summer.
No, I would be. Yeah, very surprised.
I would. Again, back to Schmidt. It will depend, and we'll come on to this, but it'll depend on whether we're going to bring in another striker.
Yeah.
I think it's a dangerous game, if I'm going to be totally honest, leaving, if we were going to go with the 3, having Beto and Barry as the 2, but then sending Schmidt out on loan. There'd have to be some sort of
I'd argue
callback.
Even just the 3, really. It was a good point raised. There might have been on this pod earlier this week. If you have a look at them 3 strikers, you've got Schmidt, who's got very limited Premier League experience, who's a young lad. You've got Barry, who's a bit more down the line in terms of wider experience than Schmidt. He's got no Premier League experience, which leaves your only sort of, what you would say, your only certainty as a striker is Beto. And as we know, even, up until Christmas, we would have said, well, I'm not too happy with that. But actually, post-Christmas, he obviously upped his game a little bit. So we're a little bit, I think what I'm saying there, we're still, even with those 2, we're a little bit short, aren't we? I think you would think what they might try and do is put Chimiti on loan. I think he's got 2 years left on his contract, to bring another striker in. But if they bring another striker in, it's got to be a proven striker, hasn't it? We can't afford to buy another striker just for developmental reasons. It has to be somebody who's proven. And
What's a proven striker though? That could consist of someone who's Premier League experience.
Yeah, but you're probably talking 30-40 million quid, aren't you? So why would you do that?
No, but you could also switch it a little bit and say someone who's got Premier League experience, who's come into the latter stages of the career, maybe a little bit injury prone as well.
Yeah. Not talking Callum Wilson there, are you?
No, I'm not saying we should do that.
No, but that's the type of market you're probably going to be in for, isn't it? Really.
But we've done that too many times.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, and put them on big money, and we all know what happens. They don't play for 2 years. We sell them on a free. So yeah, I just think when we're talking about like where we need players and where we perhaps need to offload a couple, is I still think even with Chimiti, Barry, Beto, I'm not sure that's sufficient. It would only. For me,
it depends if we're going to bring in some attacking, inverted type wingers who are going to get you 15 goals a season.
Yeah. But in terms of
a priority,
if Beto, you would imagine Beto. I would imagine Beto is going to be the first choice, isn't he? Do you think so?
I think so. Yeah. What I'll say on Barry is that seems to be happy with this. I'm happy with the signing. Again, don't know too much about him in terms of watching him play, but we have signed players in Barry's mould or the same type of profile in the past. If you want to look at Moyes Keane as one,
yeah. Well, the thing is, Sancho was the same.
Yeah, exactly. So when you bring in these players, it's obviously potential, but you're still bringing them in on a bit of a big fee. Yeah. They've got to develop. That's obviously Moyes has said that. We also kind of need them to hit the ground running. It'd be good if you could get a couple of goals early on. There's got to be a clear pathway for these players to develop, because if it all goes, if it all gets a bit messed up, then you're going to see a season or 2 or 3 of them just not really fulfilling the potential.
Well, it's the last thing you want. Yeah, I mean, he's just hanging around, if you're not developing, this is the problem, isn't it? Really, especially if you play a single striker. If you're not the first choice, your game time can be quite limited, can't it? And it'd be interesting to see. But saying that, as what I said before, is that he's still, his profile's age and stuff. I don't think we're going to lose money on him, or any, a large amount of money on him. So it's a pretty. I won't say totally risk averse, but certainly like a less risky signing than a lot of others buying a young player from abroad. And he's proven himself a little bit at Villarreal last year.
Yeah, I think so. It's also easy to develop in a winning team when you're able to, if you're on the bench a lot and you're able to come on when the team's maybe winning and you're just shoring games up, or you might be able to get the odd goal. Whereas
when you come on chasing the game,
the pressure's on.
Which is, to be honest with you, Chimisi, that's happened to him quite a few times.
Literally took the words out of my mouth.
And that's not ideal. What you want to come on with the pressure's off a little bit, and the team's playing with confidence and stuff, and you can possibly get a couple of goals. I think it's a decent signing. I say I don't know a lot about him, but like anybody you sign, there's a degree of risk there, isn't there? Really.
Absolutely. Well, it's exciting. We'll see what happens. I'm sure, it'd be interesting to see if he plays some part on Tuesday when we play Accrington Stanley in the first pre-season game.
Yeah.
He's definitely going to have to bring us boots, because I don't think we've got enough numbers to fill that squad.
No, well, I was going to speak about this at some point. I was having a look last night at the Premier League squad list. I think apart from goalkeepers, we've got 17 players, I think. If you have a look at them...
I thought we had less. Was it less?
Yeah, and that's including...
I guess Keane and Gay have been retained now.
Yeah, absolutely. That includes likes of Harrison Armstrong, Tim Irabunum and stuff like this, which, I mean, the concern I've got, which we're going to talk about, is if I look at them 17, 18 players, there's only about 8 of them that you could say, right, I know that they're going to be able to play every week. And you know who they are, And the other thing is the age range of the players. I always talk about the golden period is between when you're 24 to 29. And I think we've only got about 6 players in that group. So we've got quite a few players over 30 and a hell of a lot of players under 24. Which, so we've got players learning the trade and the players who are a little bit over the hill, but can still do a job for you. But what you want is a large group, most of your players to be in that 24, 29 bracket. And though they have got quite a few, I said we've got 6, quite a few of them are in like one part of the pitch, McNeil, NJ, that type of player. So this goes back to the Barry signing. I heard Moyes talking about potential. Well, actually, we've got a lot of players in the squad with potential. What you want is, going back to whether you need another centre forward or not, what you need is players who can come in, who can hit the ground running, who are at the right age, who can play every week. I would like to see that balance, what I was just talking about there, where we've not got enough players in that sort of mid-20s range. The players that we buy or get on loan from between now and the start of the season are in that range, so we can sort of address that imbalance where we've got a lot of youngsters, not youngsters, younger players, a few over 30, not enough in that golden, that golden span of years that I talk about. And that's what we need to do, I think, for me, because otherwise...
It will cost money.
It will cost money, but, I mean, you would imagine some of the loan players would be like that, wouldn't you? You know, I don't think you get a loan player over 30, do you?
A loan player over 30?
No, you'd probably want your loan players to be in that group. So if you're looking, say we've got 18 outfield players, you're talking about bringing more 4 or 5 players in, aren't you, really?
I'd probably say, counter that to say 7 or 8, really.
Yeah, I don't know in terms of squad rule of the Premier League squad rule.
It's 25, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's that thing, isn't it, if you've been brought in.
Chelsea are going to have a bit of trouble with the 50 players that they've got.
Yeah. That was a great line, wasn't it? Club World Cup, wasn't it? About where they had all the empty space at the Chelsea game. Yeah. And somebody said, how do they fill the seats? Somebody said, just get the Chelsea squad to fill all the seats. You know? Yeah, so I think I'd like to see us address that. So for me, it's not just a case of the positions on the pitch that we need to strengthen. It's sort of getting the right age profile in the squad. Yeah. You know, and that's the other thing that we need to do. I don't want to see a lot of, say we bring 6 in, 4 of them are potential players. What I want to see is 4 or 5 of them being players who we know get on the pitch on the Saturday, who know the job and we know what they're about. Because I think we've got quite a few players that we've got potential, but we want to see, I think, going forward, as I say, a few who can do the job for us.
I mean, Moyes is, since he's come back, really, it's no different, but he's been even more bullish, I think, with regards to bringing players in. I mean, just one of his comments following the Barry signing, he would never say this, usually say this in his first stint. I'm hoping to make more additions in the coming weeks. Yeah. For me, that is, we know we're going to make additions. We know all the clubs are going to make additions, but David Moyes, 2002, 2012, would never say something.
I think he would have done near the end.
Maybe.
But I know what you're saying. I think that's serves 2 purposes there, doesn't it? Really, I'm hoping to make more signings.
Putting pressure on.
Well, yeah, he's sort of saying like to the club, we need some more players in, but he's also saying we've spoken about that flat transfer committee type thing of Moyes, Cox, Hammond, and something. I'm hoping to bring in more players. That's saying like that's saying, I'm not saying that the transfer committee or whatever you would call it is hoping to bring in more players. I'm hoping to bring in more players. I'd say from that he's thinking that his word is the final word on new signings, isn't it? Really, they can have the discussion, but ultimately Moyes is going to decide, which I think is probably right, and that might be the way it's going to work. But it's
you don't want to bring in a player that has been discussed in the transfer committee that Moyes doesn't want.
No, but that shouldn't happen. So I don't think that's going to happen.
By default, then the manager gets the final say in this scenario.
Yeah, I can't see. There may be some players, like developmental players, where that might happen, but I think if you're talking like first team squad, that can't happen, surely. As a manager, you don't want that, but and I think that's probably what he signed up to, didn't he, really? Knowing what was going to happen with the club. I think you would like to think that committee, the group of people around him, Cox, and so on, is Hammond, is there to help him. Okay, they want to have the discussion, but there's acknowledgement there that Moyes has the final say. I don't, you don't want a position where Moyes gets one player, somebody else gets another player. That can't happen.
In terms of priority positions, because I almost see this as phase 2 now. Like phase 1 consisted of retaining a couple of players that we needed, Branthwaite's contract. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin's gone, Decore's gone, big earners off the wage bill. We've already replaced Calvert-Lewin to an extent with a new striker. That's phase 1 kind of complete. There was probably a couple of others in terms of boxes ticked with regards to that, but now it's moving on to the spine of the team and maybe a couple of... and
we're coming up to the PSR period, aren't we? The end of it,
exactly. So in terms of priority positions, you don't have to name names or anything like that, but where are you saying? I mean, right wing.
We've got no right wingers, have we? I mean, we've got players who can play on the right wing. I think all the players who can play on the left wing can all play on the right wing, can't they? I mean, you think Garner's played wide right, hasn't he, in a
James
couple
Garner,
of games?
Done very well.
Yeah, I would say that right wing where we've not got anybody. You would think if you got 6 spaces for 8 or 7, two of them need to go there, don't they? You know, somebody, going back to what I was saying before, somebody can do a job for you as an established player, and somebody maybe is has got there for development but I would say the right wing is the priority. But when you have a look at the squad and where they sit on the pitch, there's a massive gap in the right wing space. On the left hand side you've got Alcaraz, McNeil, NJ, whatever, and then on the right hand side you've got it's blank. So yeah, the right wing.
McNeil played on there at some point.
Yeah, we've got players who can play there, but in terms of a right-footed, pacey winger, I think there's a general acknowledgement. You know, we all listen to what fans say and stuff. That's what people want? You know, an Andrei Kanchelskis type player, which would be nice, wouldn't it? Really,
I'd go as far as to say this is my list in terms of priorities. You can argue or debate whether which is the priority out of all of these, but I'd go as far as to say two wingers, whether that's
two right wingers.
Well, no, maybe somebody who could play on the left as well.
Okay.
I know we've got Ndai and McNeil who can play there. So two wingers, a right back, a left back, obviously a backup goalkeeper. Question marks over whether we bring in another striker, depending on Trinity's situation, and whether we feel the wingers that we bring in are enough of an attacking threat who are going to score goals and provide assists. Yeah. And then, I'll be honest with you, people keep saying we're heavy in central midfield. I don't think necessarily. Not deeper. Not as a deeper.
No, this goes back to
midfielder.
What about play behind the striker? There's a core role. Would you expect Alcaraz to fit that in?
Yeah,
say if you bring two wingers in, you're probably saying that you want Alcaraz to play behind the striker.
But I think we would, not that we'd move away in terms of how we'd set up, but we would move away from the decore role, like someone who's picking up the second balls, winning headers, chasing down. Alcaraz probably is not going to.
And he's not a Moyes profile for that role, is he really? Moyes has always had like a Fellaini type suit check role, hasn't he?
He's going to get on the ball more than decore would, and probably be better at it as well.
So that's the question. That's where Moyes might change his tactics that he's deployed during his career. I totally agree with you. The centre midfield. I think the centre midfield is basically what the points I'm saying about the wider squad. Is you look at it, who've we got? We've got Gay,
James Garner
and Irabunum. So you've got an ageing player.
Yeah.
Actually, whether they're going to be able to last the full season or he's got a contract for two. You've got James Garner who fits into that profile, 24 to 29.
Still question marks over whether he's good enough. But
he's Premier League. He's got Premier League experience, hasn't he, over a couple of years. And you've got Irabunum, who's the under 23 or 24 player, who's still developing, and you don't know whether he's going to develop. And so I think that's a sort of microcosm of the entire squad, the centre midfield. And on that basis, I think you would need to bring in a proven centre midfielder, wouldn't you, really? I mean, Mangala would have probably, if he'd have been not injured, I think you would have seen him off of last year that he may have been an option.
Well, it's interesting that you brought him up because Carl Barden says, how about getting Mangala back? He's making good progress.
Is he? Yeah. That's a possibility.
I mean, someone, where's the comment gone? Mark Foster says, and I completely agree with him, I'm sure you will as well, we are light in creativity in the centre of midfield.
We have been for many years. Who's our last creative midfielder?
Trying to think.
Arteta?
I was going to go back to say Arteta as far as Arteta.
I can't think of anybody in
the centre anyway.
I mean, you could argue that Barkley could create. Possibly. But yeah, the lack of flair in the centre of the pitch is obviously being sort of has held us back for a long time.
You are hoping that Alcaraz will do that. He'll add a bit more creativity.
Yeah. But do you think he's not a midfield? He's more of a.
He's more. Yeah. A higher press of a midfielder, if that makes sense.
No, I get
you're not going to put him in the Gay position or the James Garner position. He could probably play alongside.
He's not a 6 or an 8 or a 10, is what you're saying.
I'm not getting into numbers, Gav.
Yeah. No, but he's not a defensive midfielder. He's not a box-to-box midfielder.
And he's not a winger either.
He's not a 10, is he? You know what we're saying, like in the classic 10, that Moyes would play a big player, as I say, Fellaini type.
If he's going to play in that position, we're going to have to change the way we play.
Absolutely.
Because we've had this conversation where we've said Everton's strengths have come when they haven't had the ball. So it's going to come. We're going to have to try and get more on the ball with Alcaraz, aren't we?
Yeah, if Alcaraz plays behind the striker, he's not going to come back. I know he has actually come back and cover the way Decore has, where you've got Decore did, and give you an extra third body with a physical presence, is he? So that puts more pressure, doesn't it, on the two midfielders behind him, doesn't it, really?
The Blues regular comment on the podcast says, how isn't Alcaraz a number 10? I think what you're saying is, I think he's more of a number 10 in the sense that a James Maddison, I'm not saying he's the same player as that, but to use him as an example, you're saying he's not the number 10, how we've deployed the number 10 over the past couple of years.
How Moyes has deployed the number 10 throughout his career, really. No, actually, possibly, I think of West Ham, he had
well, he's always had like a Kale or a Fellaini and stuff like that, hasn't he?
Yeah, a late into the box type player. But I think Alcaraz, I know you can't take a lot really, but if you're setting up the team this season, that Newcastle game appeared to be like quite a decent template.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe had the balance right in the team. I mean, it wasn't the end of season game. They were going for the Champions League, weren't we?
Yeah.
If you had to look at the way the team was set up there and the way Alcaraz played, I thought he plays really well. That's the type of thing you probably want going forward next season, I think. I'd like to see that. But there's pressure on Alcaraz, though, isn't it? I'll ask you the question: is Alcaraz an established Premier League player?
I
know he's played
Premier
for
League experience, I guess.
But as an established, he can, for 38 games, you're going to turn up every week and be decent. Is he an established Premier League? No. So there's pressure there, isn't it? When I was saying before that we've only got about 7 or 8 players in the squad at the moment who are established Premier League players who we know will play 38 games a season, probably be okay. Ups and downs. He isn't. He's not in that list because I think he's still got to prove himself. But at the same time, you don't know what a ceiling is. The ceiling could be quite high, couldn't it? Really, from what we've seen, we're sort of saying Newcastle probably is very high, isn't it? So there's pressure on him going into the campaign, I think, because he's got to perform week in, week out, and also as well, he's been that classic thing is when a player's on loan and they need to prove themselves, and then they get the transfer, the big money transfer. There's countless occasions seen over the years where all of a sudden they dip a little bit. Having said that, under Moyes, you've had players who've been on loan who've done well and then done well when they decide to be one of them, wouldn't he? Arteta would be another. I know it's going back a few years because I think Moyes knows how to manage that. And
Would you see him as a starter though, Alcaraz? I know it's quite early because I know things are going to change.
Depends where you're buying other places. You wouldn't put him head end high, would you? You wouldn't. I don't think.
No.
You wouldn't put him if you bring a right winger in. I don't think he's going to play out wide right, and it depends on whether he's going to play behind the striker, isn't he? I think there's a debate there, isn't it? But I think if he plays like he did in Newcastle, I might see him starting every game.
Just moving on slightly then, priorities. I don't want to go too much into...
This could be a long pod. This was a whole summer, rest of the pre-season on priorities.
And we've got loads of other stuff to get through as well. Left-back situation, I think it goes out saying we need another left-back, whether that's a backup or whether that is a...
I think that's low priority on the list, though, isn't it?
I completely disagree. I think I'm flabbergasted that we've managed to get through 2 seasons now without a certified backup left-back.
So you're talking about backup left-back?
Well, this is the...
Yeah, I don't think that's a priority, is it?
Do we get a backup left-back or do we go for someone to challenge Mykolenko, or do we go for someone who just goes straight in over Mykolenko?
I think the cash that you'd be... Cash that would be... I think that'd be wasted cash. It's a bit like, we were talking about last time, I was on about the thought, because you obviously signed Michael Keane, which obviously everyone obviously listens to our podcast, is we were saying it's a waste of... In terms of scarce resource and scarce money, it's a waste of money to buy 4th choice centre half. So give Keane a contract. And there's a little bit of that with Mykolenko, isn't it? Really, is that buying a backup is probably wasted when we've got. Tell you what, Branthwaite can play left back. The only thing I'd say where I think you're right is Mykolenko's injury record has been a bit patchy, has it?
Well, I mean, he suffered, didn't he, at the back end of the season before?
Yeah, it's about whether. I'm not sure how. Did he play most last season? He did, didn't he?
Ashley Young stood in for him a couple of times.
That's why I should have kept Young.
But he wanted to leave, though, didn't he?
Yeah, well, maybe if he'd offered more money, he would have stayed. I can see maybe that be...
Who
That'd be one of your
plays
own
there now?
players.
You don't want to be putting Branthwaite as your left back.
Would you get a lone player as a reserve left back?
Yeah, a
Rather than buy somebody.
A loan option is a good shout. I think.
But that's another question, isn't it? If you had, we got 4 loans. Is that right? There's 4 loans.
Yeah, well, 4 loans. It'd be 2 domestic.
And 2. Yeah. Where would you deploy? What would your priorities be if you brought loan players in? And going on your list, that would be a loan player, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably.
You wouldn't spend money on a left back. You put a loan. You get a left back.
Okay, fair enough. I'll agree with you on that then.
Because you don't want to pay money for someone who's going to be an understudy.
But I also think. I think Michalenko's contract's up at the end of the year, so there's going to be question marks on whether we offer him a new deal. I'm sure we will to retain his value, but I still think there's question marks on whether we can get a better left back, spend big money on a better left back. I think we can.
Yeah, I think you're right, but big money. You've got big money priorities elsewhere, haven't
you? I mean, what's big money these days?
Well, this is the other thing, isn't it? Really, you're discussing there like to-do list. On the to-do list, we've got a lot of players got 1 year left on the contract because we've signed players now on 1 year deals, haven't we?
We're in the same boat again.
So I think Tarky's on the 1 year, Michalenko's on the 1 year, Garner's on the 1 year. So we've got to sort, as well as buying players, we've got to sort their futures out at some point, haven't we? Possibly during the summer.
You'd like to think that would happen as the season progresses. And
to part that. You would hope there's been conversations with the likes of Michalenko. Listen, we're going to renew your contract. But we haven't got the bandwidth behind the scenes at the moment to do it. But we'll have conversations during the season. I would imagine I think there's probably similar conversations with Garner and Tarkowski. Tarkowski, I think, may be an awkward one. They might want to look at his fitness when he comes back before they do anything.
I think what I mean by the left back situation being the most straightforward compared to the right back is I just think we need cover from the left back point of view.
That's right. Yeah.
But the right back point of view now, because we had this debate the other week, and a lot of people saying right back is an absolute priority. But now, if you look at it, with Keane signing as a centre back, obviously we're signing signing a new contract. You've got now Patterson, Coleman, whether he plays or not a lot or not, he's still there.
Well, I'd say not.
Okay, that's fair enough. But then you've got O'Brien. Yeah. He's, at the moment, Moyes' first choice right back, isn't he?
Well, you could argue that he's one of his 2 first choice centre halves, isn't he? Possibly.
Exactly, yeah.
Certainly if Tarkowski's
But my point is there's more options isn't there?
There is, but what are those options? We know Coleman's not going to play. Are you going to trust Patterson's fitness?
Yeah, I know you're not a massive fan of Patterson, and the jury is definitely still out.
I don't think the jury's out on Patterson. I just think there's a general belief out there that actually, once he's not got a future at the club, that it might be better for all parties. That if he,
I don't disagree with
it. After 3.5 years, that it doesn't say a lot for him, does it, Patterson, that they signed Coleman? In some respects,
but we know why Coleman's been signed for his leadership qualities.
Yeah, but they still want to possibly do a job at right back. If he's fit and there's you've got players injured. If I was Patterson, I'd go. I want to get game time elsewhere.
Just leave. Don't bother.
No, yeah.
Don't care what club I go to.
Just pack my desk up. Put my belongings in a box and leave Finch Farm. But I've got to... What is he? If he's their choice right back behind O'Brien, Coleman. Coleman is what, 38 or whatever, 37 or whatever. The logical thing there is to move, isn't it? Really.
You're not wrong in everything you're saying and what you've said in the past. I remember you've said something along the lines of, if you're not first choice or you're not getting in the team after 3 or 4 years at the club.
Yeah, if you want that, there's no. If you have a look at players who've been not first choice player at a club and they're 3.5 years into the time, there is no way they're all of a sudden going to be first choice playing week in, week out. Because if that was the case, that would have happened over the previous 3 years, and combined with his injury record, it just baffles me why you would want to hang around. Maybe the financial reward, possibly, but I just don't. If you've got something about you, you'd want to move, wouldn't you, really? And the club would want to move him on. If the club needs to raise some cash, there'd be a conversation.
I think more than likely a team wouldn't want to pay for him, and he'd just come in on loan. But then
and his wages, a loan deal. But then people look at his injury record and say, "Well, but they waste a loan deal on somebody who's doesn't play every week." Yeah. So because he's got 18 months left, I think, Patterson, hasn't he? Something like that.
Yeah, we obviously knew we need a fixed right back, someone who's going to come in there. O'Brien has done very well. He's obviously not the answer there. Wouldn't be surprised if he starts as right back.
We've had this conversation before. Why isn't O'Brien the answer there?
Because he is a centre back, though, isn't he?
But,
he's not going to play right
defenders,
back.
tall right backs.
Was Jolie Lescott the answer at left back?
He would have been. He would have played left back, Jolie. No, he was good enough.
He was the answer at the time. But
I know what you're saying. I'm just
if Moyes
having
can
a discussion
there,
yeah,
to play right back for
I'm
the
just
season.
playing devil's advocate there, really.
All right, well, if Moyes says to O'Brien, "You're going to be my right back for the season," because we can't find the right person that we want, would you be happy with that?
No.
Okay.
No, if I was O'Brien, I wouldn't, because I want to play centre half. I'd be thinking about my international.
Okay, that's fair enough. But would
you
you take that as a fan? Someone watching Everton.
As a supporter?
Yeah, would you accept that?
It depends how you're doing in central defence, I would imagine. I mean, if the central defence is struggling, I mean, Tarkowski struggled to start last season, didn't he? I mean, if you remember, at the start of last season, Tarkowski and Keane were all defensive parts of Burnley. The one who was struggling was Tarkowski, not Keane. So yeah, I get that. I think I agree. I mean, to me, and I said this before on the pod, I still think that our first choice should be O'Brien and Branthwaite, central defenders. Albeit I'm concerned then that gives us an absence of leadership and experience, possibly. But as terms of centre halves, I think that'd be, a good starting base for us. But I can see why people want Tarkowski on the pitch, for his leadership and experience. But it'd be interesting to see how he comes back from his hamstring. I mean, if you've done your hamstring 31, 32, it'd be awkward, can't it?
I mean, there was concern that he was going to miss pre-season, but he has been pictured back on the grass.
That old chestnut. I get the left back, I get the right back. So you wouldn't get a right back in. You just Patterson, and Coleman, O'Brien.
I would get a right back in.
I say Michael Keane.
No, I would get a right back in. Okay. Again, we were, going back to Fulham's Tete.
But when I say right back,
but Kenny Tete would have been the perfect.
Kenny Tete would have been perfect. Premier League proven will come in. Wages aren't going to hurt you. Would have been ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So those players are still out there, you would think, wouldn't they? I'll play that type. So yeah, right back definitely. But don't spend too much money.
I think it's going to be in this next phase. The club are going to have to try and find the balance of where do we prioritise all of our money. Definitely on a winger. You're not going to go and loan a winger, maybe like we did with Lindstrom, because that clearly didn't work, did it?
Well, we had Lindstrom and Harrison on playing Marseille last year, didn't we?
Exactly. So you're going to have to maybe go and spend big on a winger or two. Again, I know it's gone a little bit quiet, but again, Jack Grealish is an option. I don't know what the thoughts are on that.
We've got players like Grealish, haven't we? We've got players like McAtee, haven't we?
That could be a loan option, isn't it? We're not going to go out and spend money on Jack Grealish.
Wages and
be very surprised.
Yeah. The wages. And Grealish would be the last on my list, to be honest with you, because we've got players who have done the job for us in that part of the pitch, who I think would be a better option than Grealish, whose motivation would be actually concern you a little bit, though he's a good lad. I think if you're talking about big cash, I think centre mid and a right winger, they'd be my big cash buys. Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with it, to be honest. I'm more than happy with what's happened since the start of the transfer window. Boxes ticked. Now move on to the next phase, and it'd be interesting to see.
But within that, would you be happy to see Chamisi go on loan? Irabunum possibly a loan. There might be scope to get.
It's too early for me to say. I could answer yes to that question, but then we need to bring in another striker.
See, this is what we say this on the pod, isn't it? You can't talk about an individual part of the pitch and say, yeah, we need a right back or left back without understanding what's going on elsewhere within the squad and what way your money is being spent elsewhere within the squad. So yeah, I agree, but we've basically covered, apart from left wing, we've covered every area of the pitch there, to be honest with you, apart from centre back, where I think centre back were okay. And you know what? If you were Moyes, and we know this from Moyes' management over the years, over 25 years, the one area of the pitch that he wants stability in where he wants a group of proven top-flight players is centre-half, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had that in his first one. You know, like late 2000s, he had what? Yobo, Lescott, Jagielka. You know, then he brought Heitinger, Distan in. You know, that's, you know, he had had Stubbs and Weir before then, hadn't he? He had, so he likes stability in that part of the pitch. I don't think Moyes is, probably be proven. You know, when you talk about bringing players in with promise stuff, I don't think Moyes will do that centre half. You know, expecting them to get game time.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know, he might do that elsewhere in the pitch, but he wants proven players in the centre defence.
We obviously, I'll just mention this very quickly, but Everton are weighing up a move for Bournemouth's second string goalkeeper Mark Travis.
Yeah.
So obviously we're going to need maybe a third string goalkeeper as well. I know there's a couple in the youth.
Still had his Tyler there, haven't we?
Yeah.
But I don't think he's a number two.
No.
Travis was the goalie, wasn't he? He didn't move when the Corey shot, wasn't he? I think.
Was he?
I think so.
Get him
so
in.
Believe. Yeah. I should have bought him on that basis. But he's obviously been on the radar, and he's played in the Premier League. Not got a problem with that. No.
I mean, we don't need to go into detail on this, Gav, because I know we don't really watch a lot of. Well, I don't watch a lot of European football as such, but some players that have been linked with Everton over the past week. Obviously, James McAtee.
Yeah.
Flamingo right back Wesley. Don't know too much about him. Yeah. A lot of people seem to be really interested and wanting Real Sociedad winger. I'm going to say his name. I've been practicing saying his name. Takefusa Kubo.
Yeah.
I'd tell you what, I'd defo get this fella in if we could get him. Played for Fulham, currently at Bayern. João Paulino.
Oh, yeah, he's a good player.
He would be the perfect central midfielder.
He's been linked with the thing you have with Juventus.
Douglas Luiz. Yeah. The only thing I'd say about him, I know he did fairly well at Villa. He's had a poor season at Juventus. It just already seems to be starting to become a bit of a journeyman, like going to a number of clubs, it's not working out.
Barry's been a journeyman, and Alcaraz has been, had 3 or 4 clubs. But,
I'm not saying it doesn't work.
But it's just, but a young player, sometimes that happens, doesn't it, really? And Barry's gone to one club, to a better club, to a better club, to a better club, hasn't he? I definitely Paulino.
Yeah. John McGinn, we've discussed it at length.
As much as what I was saying, don't buy 30-plus players, McGinn. I think is part of I
think you're just looking at silly money for someone who's 30 years old because he's just a mainstay in that Aston Villa team. Yeah. He's so effective and contributes so much.
As a forgetting about money, he's the type of player that I'd like.
This is what I was saying the other day, that even at his age, if Moyes thinks that he could transform that midfield, I think he would take a punt at maybe a 20,
that's part
25.
of a balance, maybe buying other players who are 24 to 27, but I get that.
Look, 30's still fairly young as a footballer now, but for the way he plays, his style, he could only have 2 years left at his level. Yeah. And then, obviously, we know it's no secret that he would want to go back to Scotland and stuff like that, so...
Yeah, Moyes being a fellow Scot, as you say. I mean, has anybody quoted the fee? I'm not seeing. I'm just seeing interest.
There's no fee. I spoke to a colleague who does the Aston Villa podcast, and he seems to think that it's going to have to be 30 million plus.
Yeah, for 30, that's a lot, isn't it? Really, because your resale value is negligible, isn't it? Really, at 30. Interesting one.
What about James McAtee? Big fan of him.
What I've seen, I mean, there's talk this morning at West Ham and Forest. Interested.
They're going to have a lot of money to spend now, Forest, aren't they? As well as West Ham, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they're talking City 25 million, but not necessarily talking about a sale at this point, are they?
It was reported 20 to 30,
but attacking midfielders or whatever is something that we've got more than a few at the moment. If we bring a right winger in, adds more to that area of the pitch, doesn't it? So, possibly, yeah. It's
watch this space, I guess,
I think watch the space,
That's all you can say.
I don't think another attacking midfielder is something that I would look for. I think centre midfielder, right winger, the two I'd be focusing on at the moment.
A lot of people here in the comments saying Kubo is a must.
Okay.
Let's get him in. I don't know what the fee is that they're talking about getting him for, but I'm not going to say no.
Arteta started at Real Sociedad, didn't you think?
Yeah, it seems to be a breeding ground, doesn't it?
It is, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Xabi Alonso was there.
Absolutely, same time, yeah. Or coaching. You've seen the coaches that have come from that part of it. it's a really interesting story.
Zubimendi,
That was all that over the years. But the coaches, Bournemouth coach, didn't he? Was at Bilbao. It's a real focal point of great players and great coaches who really think about the game.
Just always the players anyway. Always just seem to be really technically gifted.
Yeah.
Like you're never going to see a player without a bad touch who comes.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's. I listened to a podcast about it a few weeks ago, and it's fascinating because it's a separate. It's not part of Spain, isn't it? What they say, it's separate, and it's just the way their culture is. Always produce great coaches, really technically gifted players.
Right, roughly around 52 minutes in. Let's quickly go
7
through the
minutes
next
of first half injury time. Yeah.
Okay, so according to the Mail, Jarrad Branthwaite's new contract includes an exit clause worth more than 70 million, which becomes active next summer. So it's our understanding that it could be in the region of 90 million, but the Mail have put in there that it's more than 70 million. So I think it
could be the same thing, couldn't it?
Exactly. So it's no secret that we expected a release clause of some sort in Jarrad Branthwaite's new contract. It doesn't become active until next summer, which obviously is very smart from the club. You don't want a new contract signed and then a club meets it this summer. But I guess, I don't know, does it mean anything to you, Gav? Like, release clause?
Hasn't Barry got a really... Didn't he have a release clause of force and he paid less than that?
Yeah.
Things change, don't they?
No, yeah, of course, yeah.
We spoke, didn't we, about it? Release clauses are sometimes not worth the paper that they're written on, are they? Really? I think
it just gives Everton leverage, though. Doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And also as well, obviously gave Branthwaite leverage in the wage conversations as well. I'm not surprised. Good that it's not this summer, this season. If somebody came in for them this summer and said, right, we want to pay 80 million, would the club we'd have to think about it. Yeah, it makes sense. What it is irrelevant, really. I would think. I just got to. What is Branthwaite's value? I mean, he's only played a couple of times for England. I think he's Premier League proven. Obviously, he's still a bit of potential. What is his value? What is his value? I mean, we've talked about Branthwaite to death, haven't we, over the summer, because obviously being big news. I compare Branthwaite, look at Gay at Palace. And Gay's 2 years older than Branthwaite. So he's captain of this club. Probably England's first choice centre-half or thereabouts at 25. Played last year's Euros when he was 24. Obviously been linked with Liverpool over the summer. So Branthwaite's only 2 years. It's only 2 years difference between the two players. So for Branthwaite, to earn his value, he's got to get to that place, hasn't he, over the next 2 years? Where he's captain, England's first choice, his centre half. Move from still potential into being, 25, that golden period, where you're like close to your peak or on the way to your peak. So he's got a lot of work to do, Branthwaite, to get to that, to get where Gay is, I think.
I think you are absolutely right, and it goes back to players with potential. Branthwaite is still a player with potential at the end of the day.
Yeah.
His true valuation for me won't become apparent until the next 12 months to see what he does in the next 12 months, because can he break his way into that England team? Can he force his way into the World Cup squad?
Yeah.
Can he, be that linchpin? Okay, in defence for Everton, who pushes Everton onto a European place.
Yeah, absolutely. And then become captain of the team and be the leader and be like the main player within the team. Gay's probably not the main player at Palace.
But if that happens, his valuation, you will be looking at 70, 80 million.
Exactly.
Maybe hopefully more.
But there's a lot of work, to be done there, and I don't think what's helping him. If you were Branthwaite, his going back to Tuchel's comments a few weeks ago about he wants Champions League proven players. Well, Branthwaite's not nowhere near the Champions League, is he? I mean, Pickford can get away with it because he's got obviously huge experience for England. And I was thinking about this during the week. It's a World Cup year, okay? If Tuchel doesn't look as though perhaps he's interested, the first time Branthwaite can play at the World Cup is when he's 28.
Who's that?
Branthwaite, yeah. That's the first time. If he doesn't get into the World Cup next year, the first time he can play the World Cup is when he's 28. You know what I'm saying about like as when you're a defend, when you play, years can drift quite quickly.
Your career's
and you're already people talk about I hate that phrase generational talent. And what we're saying now, if he doesn't get in next year, he's 28 and he's at the World Cup.
Yeah. Just there's a really interesting point here from Puta, who says Branthwaite's value is equal. Replacements of equal ability. So Branthwaite's value equals replacements of equal ability.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's a realistic thing. I don't disagree with it, but you're not going to go and sell a Jarrad Branthwaite for like, what, 80 million?
And buy somebody for 80 million.
Yeah, who's on the same equal ability. That's just not going to happen.
I know what you mean, but the contracts don't work like that because one of the transfers don't work like that because one of the biggest influence on the transfer fee is not your ability, it's where you are in your contract. So it's like Gay, isn't it? What they're talking for Gay is probably far less than what his his value is because he's only got 1 year left.
Yeah, if he doesn't go this summer, he's already indicated he's going on a free. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I totally agree with that. But in reality, it doesn't work like that, does it? I think we said last time when Joe was here, it is a big year for Branthwaite, isn't it? What happens this year could determine what happens over the next 4 or 5 years. When he's in that period, the 24 to 29, what happens this season? I think. I think that's an interesting point, isn't it? Really, with regard to the sell-on clause, or the buyout clause being somewhere of 2026, isn't it? Interesting story, though.
Yeah, well, we knew there was going to be something in there. I think it's to be expected. So it brought it into the podcast as a talking point. You wanted to speak about the reports regarding Everton holding talks with investors about the sale of a minority stake.
It's just this thing that came out on Company's House this week about Everton sort of divesting, incesting.
I think a few people jumped the gun now.
Goodison saying that it was going to get sold, that it was being sold. Goodison and the ladies' team, from what my understanding is, what that move where you just divesting yourself of the shares means that you need to do that before you sell those assets. So that means that the way it's sitting at the moment, Goodison can be sold and the ladies' team could be sold. Which is fine. But linked with that is a couple of weeks ago in the Freaking groups, they set up this EFCW holding company which sits above Everton. So anything that they get in or earn or pay out, it doesn't count towards PSR. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit like Chelsea, isn't it? If you put 2 and 2 together, there's a scenario, isn't it, that we sell Goodison and the ladies' team to that holding company within the Freaking group. We get the income towards PSR, but then any future stuff that they earn, we don't say, the ladies' team, which is what Chelsea did, and so that is interesting on several different levels, isn't it? Because the Freakins were talking about that as part of getting investments into the women's team, and we said before, haven't we, that Americans look at women's football far more seriously and a bit more depth than what we do in this country, because the American ladies team is more popular than the American men's team. So they're looking to get the maximising the value out of it, really. Because, Chelsea's was valued at whatever it was, 250 million, was it 200 million? It's still got to be ratified. It would be interesting to see if they did that, how much the ladies team was valued at, because not just the value at it now, what would be in the value is, if women's football is going to grow, as people say, over the next 20 years, it's going to be what it is in 20 years' time. That's what you're paying for. Yeah. So, but they're not paying for anything, are they, really? So it's very interesting development, that. I mean, I know few people jumped the gun, but it's certainly a step towards allowing them, the Goodison and the ladies' team, to be sold by Everton to an outside company.
And it's all related to PSR, let's face
it. Well, that aspect of it, but I think the Freakins obviously are looking to beef up the women's side of the club, aren't they? That's what they're saying. Because as Americans, they appreciate that there's value in that.
Without stating the obvious, is this probably the main reason why Everton women's team are now going to be playing at Goodison Park.
Oh, well, I think I intimated that on the pod, didn't I? when he announced that, actually. What did they say? It may bring certain PSR opportunities, but what we didn't have then was a holding company, because we couldn't say, if Everton sold the women's team to Everton, we don't get any benefits. If you sold it to an outside company, you can show all that income and the sale value in your PSR. So
what I like about it, you can agree whether it's right or wrong. We know Chelsea have already done something to that effect. From our point of view, I like that the new owners are they're looking at like 2 or 3 steps ahead, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they're obviously very clever people, aren't they? Because that's why they're hugely successful, and we've needed that at the club for a long time. And as we know, people moan about the Chelsea thing. Oh, it can't happen. And Man United have similar arrangements, don't they? The way they're set up is when they've voted, they need the Premier League to block, the sale of a ground, or I think it was just the sale of a ground. You can't sell your ground, or your ladies' team or whatever. The clubs voted to say to continue. That clubs could still do that. Because guess why they did that? Because all those clubs want the opportunity to do that in the future. That's why.
Exactly.
Because if Chelsea can do it and Villa or whatever, well, we want that opportunity too. So we're not going to vote against it, even though for a lot of fans it doesn't appear right. And I think I totally agree with that. It doesn't appear
It'll
right.
no doubt get voted out just as we're about to sign the contract.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I'm just joking.
Not with so many American owners now, which is the other thing here, isn't it? In Premier League, all the American owners will be thinking like that.
If one club have done it, why can't the rest?
Well, that's what the Premier League clubs are saying. That's why they voted to retain the rule where you can sell your ground, sell your women's team, whatever. Because they'll be shooting themselves in the foot otherwise, wouldn't they?
Okay, well, I guess we'll just another one where we watch this space and see how that
Yeah, we haven't, and that's just purely speculation at this point. But I can see why you can put 2 and 2 together. Divested the shares to allow a sale in the future, and the Freakins groups elsewhere have set up this AFCW holding company, which in theory could, they could acquire those 2 assets.
Okay, I know we've gone on a little bit longer, but I just want to very quickly talk about
that was my rant on FIFA at the start. I think probably
it's all good. I know this is kind of old news, but John Textor was on TalkSport yesterday. Had a few things to say about the failed takeover bid at Everton. This is what he had to say if you haven't watched or listened to it. So he said, the owner of Everton at the time called me and said, John, the fans really need to understand your strategy. That was the dumbest interview you could possibly give if you didn't know you were absolutely the owner of Everton. This is in a separate call. I then got a call from one of the owners. We've decided to go in another direction. I couldn't believe it. You literally asked me to roll out a strategy. Why am I talking about coaching decisions at Everton if I wasn't already the owner? So I think that's obviously in reference to the interview that he did with Alan Myers, talking about Sean Dyche. And then he went as far as to go on and say, which I just find baffling, to be honest, we were waiting on wiring instructions, full documents done, closed, effectively saying that the deal is done. Then we got the call. I was in shock. No deal. The Freakins called me and said, 8 days ago, we just changed our mind.
Yeah.
And basically wanted to buy the club. I don't know, have you seen the segment?
I've seen the interview. I've only seen what's been out there, to be honest with you. I think it's, Farhad himself, for somebody who's a billionaire or whatever, he doesn't act like one. But I think he, in many respects, from when did 777 get involved? Was that September 23? Was it something around that time?
It was definitely 23.
Yeah. I think he, from his own personal wealth perspective, he's pretty much played it perfectly, hasn't he? He got 777 to pay the bills on the basis that they would take over the club, but he probably had no intent, didn't have any intention to sell them to them in the first place, just to rein them in and pay the bills. Then he sort of Freakins pull out and Textor comes on board. And he encourages that because he knows the Freakins have got previous at Roma. So this is going to bring the Freakins out again if they want to be serious about buying the club. And that's exactly what happened, isn't it, really? And Textor couldn't do anything until he sold his Palace shares anyway. So which he's neglected to say there. So The one thing about Textor, I'd say, it would have been hugely entertaining if we'd have got him. And he's had a bad couple of months, hasn't he, Textor, really?
I just think that he's trying to save a little bit of face with that embarrassing interview that he did. I mean, he's called it embarrassing as well, regardless of whether paperwork was, nearly signed or nearly done. Wire transfers. There was nothing that would have progressed that deal until he'd sold Crystal Palace, and he wasn't even close to selling Crystal Palace at the time.
Yeah.
It just wasn't anywhere near being done.
Yeah.
He came on. He went on Sky, didn't he, talking about Sean Dyche and strategy and stuff like that. I just think that's the type of character that he is, and he was pushing for the move for Everton, maybe trying to get the fans on board, thinking that was a good idea at the time, when in reality, our fans probably thought, what's this guy on?
I don't think I'd say there as an alternative to 777. It was probably like, if I recall, it's I mean, probably saying this pod that, any alternative to 777 is probably better. And
best of a bad bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's to me, that whole thing, Textor and the 777 scenario just shows you that Mercedes not as dumb as what he looks, and certainly
when it comes to business,
exactly. Football, the complete opposite, isn't it? Really, I mean, the Freakins. I mean, the Freakins have had it. And Freakins have turned Rome around a little bit, but see how many CEOs and directors in football they've had at Roma. They've had quite a few there. So they're in the. We talk about people being in an improving category. The Freakins are still in the improving category, aren't they? Really, rounds running Everton. But what you've seen so far has been hugely encouraging off the pitch, hasn't it? Clear leadership and direction. Yeah. Well, good appointments.
Just making good business decisions as well.
Good appointments, good business decisions. So what you've seen so far is hugely encouraging. I think the Hill Dickinson deal was about as good as deal as what they could get, to be fair. And we'll see how it plays out over the next 12 months, because it's just as much a test for them as Moyes, isn't it, the coming season?
I think as well, all that is spot on, but it goes to show that you can be a smart businessman, and as long as or smart business company, whatever, not interfering with football on matters, which is what Mercedes did.
Well, that's where they all fall down, isn't it? In my experience, is they come in and think they can run things, and then on the pitch stuff and in the boardroom, and they can't.
You can still run things without having to interfere in that respect.
I mean, Ratcliffe's a little bit in that boat, isn't he?
Yeah,
I think Man United, and there's been that it's full of Andy Lerner, full of people who've lost a hell of a lot of money. You go into football clubs thinking they can operate in the same way as the wider business world, they can't. And Mercedes is a classic example of that, isn't he? He's the poster boy for it. But yeah, I think what I've seen from TFC so far, hugely impressed. But given the track record, I wasn't surprised with that. But I still think the bigger test for him is on the horizon.
Yeah. Any final thoughts then before we go?
One question on that: do you think they should speak to the fans a bit more? Because they're quite silent.
I'm happy for things to continue the way they are, as long as the people who they've appointed, relay communications back on it. It doesn't have to be a regular basis as such, just when something big happens. But again, so far so good. They obviously the new CEO didn't Kinnear. He did an interview with Everton TV. I thought it was really good. I know it was an in-house interview or whatever, but that's fine.
No, I've been hugely impressed with them. And they've done exactly what I expected regarding the women's team and Goodison.
Well, be interesting when he makes a first appearance, in front of cameras and stuff like that.
In the first game.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's not, to be honest.
The friendly against Roma would be probably being more apt.
Maybe.
But yeah, hugely impressed. I think they've employed good people, good track record, and let's hope we can match that on the pitch.
Absolutely. Well, we are going to finish off. We are back again on Monday to look ahead to Everton's first pre-season game of the season. Football will be nearly back.
Yeah,
officially.
You nearly got to get your boots up to Scotland. Some of the young players and stuff up there,
Yeah, Atkinson Stanley, Tuesday night. It's going to be a good one. So, next week we're going to have a pod Monday, and then we will probably, more than likely, have a pod Wednesday reacting to that. So, plenty to come on the Royal Blue podcast. All good?
All good, yeah, enjoyed that. Yeah,
nice
quite
one.
changing.
Okay, please give us a like if you haven't already and subscribe to the channel. Drop us some 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks for Gav for coming on. I've been Ian Croll, and this has been the Royal Blue Podcast.